This is Plunge's newest pod. Is their first upright and durable cold plunge that they've ever created. It's got a lid right here that's very secure. As someone who lives in New York and it rains and snows, I need something with a nice solid cover where the water can drip off and bugs, leaves cannot go in. The inside has a nice seat. You can head dunk by sitting the other way, and it has water chiller ports to connect to their Pro and their standard chiller. I'm going to show you today what the entire experience is like and if this thing is actually worth your money. First thing is size and dimensions. I have a little bit longer than 6 foot wingspan, 6 foot heat, 6 foot. I am about 6 feet high, maybe shrinking, it's okay. We're gonna round up for now. I'll put my arms here to see how long it is. So it's pretty wide, about 4 feet. The depth wise is going to be about an arm length, a little less. And then all the way down to the bottom of the tub is almost a bit more than the width of the actual tub. So what's nice about this is that you can fit this in smaller spaces. Like if you have a balcony, you could fit this. Obviously, make sure that it can hold the weight. Obviously, this is light. Like I can pick this up. But once you add water, this thing can get up to like 700 to 800 pounds and add yourself in it. That's a lot of weight. So usually I try to make sure it can support 1,000 pounds when you want to add any kind of tub like this in that space. If I stand next to it, my hip line is right about here. So this is perfect for me. I can easily go ahead and step up and over. There is a little bit of a step. If you are a bit shorter than me, it might be a bit harder and you'll have to grasp onto the sides to lean up and into the plunge itself. The lid fits perfectly on. I love that it's flush. It's very smooth on the edges. And this thing is not light, but it's not extremely heavy. Like I can lift it up. There is a strap that comes with it if you want to secure it, so that way kids don't accidentally lift it up, and that can wrap around to make sure this doesn't come off. But you can take this off, put it next to the tub. It is a bit higher if you put it vertically. It has some grooves on the inside, but just note that this is going to be there to protect the water. Now let's talk about the seating experience. So this tub does have a little bit of a groove here for a seat. So when I slide in, I can step on over, go ahead and sit my hips down on this little seat. And now, depending on the water level, I can lean back if I want to. You can see that there's a slant on this back row. So it just gives me the opportunity to just rest and relax as I lean back. Maybe I can rest my head up here. And you're gonna do this in upright position with bent knees. You can rest your head back, which is nice. It's got a nice floor area right here. The 2 drain plugs are on this side. And if I want to head dunk, you know, it's hard to head dunk if you're sitting like this. I could turn around the other way and now sit this way. And now my hips are lower. And now it'll be a little bit easier to head dunk if I want to, or in between my legs, because I will be lower in terms of where the water is, which is knowing that there's about a good 4 to 6 inch gap from that bench to the bottom floor, and then also an indentation for the drain. You can kind of see that right there. And climbing out of the tub, same thing. I would just step up and over. You can place your arms on the outside of the tub to secure yourself. Just be careful when it's no water. It's gonna be a bit lighter and you could fall off to the side, so don't get in and out without water in it. When it comes to the seating experience, they mentioned that it can fit people up to 6'7". I don't have anyone that tall to test it with, but I'm 6 feet, add 7 more inches. You bend your knees when you get in, so most likely you can get in and at least get, you know, the water up to here. If you do plan to buy this Plunge pod, use the link in the description. That helps support the channel. We get to make some extra commission, or just go to the website if you don't want to support the channel and use discount code Shervin for $150 off. This is the bottom. I don't know. There's a groove right here. I just had to show you. They say it takes 20 minutes to set the entire thing up, so let's find out. I'm going to fill it up with water. We're just going to put a hose in, and then really all that's left is connecting the 2 tubes to the chiller and then turning it on. You're not gonna be able to have cold water right away. It's gonna take probably, I think when I've tested it in around 60 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit, it takes, I think like 6 to 12 hours. You can speed that up by just putting ice in. But once it's cold, it stays cold relatively well, unless you have like a lot of people going in and out, then body heat can slowly increase the temperature. I've hosted sauna parties with like 20, 30 people, and it'll go up from 39 to 44. So it's still not bad, considering it's built, you know, just for your home, not for like commercial use. So we're gonna fill this up and then get inside. Now, one thing I didn't like about some of the plunges is the ceramic ones can be a little slippery. So if you're small, you'll just kind of like slide down when you're laying in. Whereas the upright, any kind of upright tub, it's easier to stay in place. How am I doing this? It's cold and it's dark outside. So you're not gonna slip around as much already because your feet can press up against the sides or the front. So that's one benefit of having an upright tub versus, do I have to do this? Oh! Oh my god. Versus the lay down tub, because the lay down tubs are just easier to slide down. Whereas this one, I can sit down. I feel okay. If I want to be up higher, I can hold myself up higher because I'm more buoyant. I have some space. I can probably fit a second small person maybe standing in here, but definitely not knees in. This feels, I love the sturdiness, the durability and the sturdiness of this tub in an outdoor setting with no roof cover. This is perfect. And it has the plunge covers. I can use it with the chillers I already have. Absolutely primo. Okay, here, let's show what it's like getting out. So I'm just gonna step up and over. And because my legs are long enough, that is easy and frictionless. If your legs are shorter than mine, it's gonna be a bit harder. You might have to like step over and reach in to get into the tub and then use this to hold yourself up. Whereas if you do have long enough legs, I probably have like a 5'8" length legs. More than likely should be easy to get in and out. Next, let's do a tour of the tub and all the features that are available. So the lid, like I said, this is an insulated lid with a slightly rounded top, which is very important. If you look at it, you want that because as snow and water drops, you don't want it to put pressure on the top of the tub. I have the edge tub and it was a flat, non-inflatable surface. The inflatable tubs with the inflatable cover also sometimes indent when there's rain or snow. So not ideal when you don't have a covered area. This is UV resistant, so I'll leave it out in the sunlight. We'll see how long it holds up. If you want to see that review long term, let me know. But once you take the lid off, this is all insulated, so it's gonna help keep your water colder for longer, especially in warmer environments and climates. It's got nice little grooves on the edges and the Plunge logo etched in here very lightly, so it's subtle, but it's not screaming at you, and it looks super clean. As you come around it, you can see that the slant in the edge here where you can kind of lean back and rest. And then on the other side, we have holes. So we have the water chiller holes here, and we have the outlet, which is down here. You will plug in the tube on this side, as well as a drain. So I would, if I want to drain all the water, go ahead and open that and open this piece, and the water will drain out. What's really important is you want to have a drain as low to the bottom as possible, and luckily they created an indentation, so I would say 90% of the water will flow out on this tub, which is nice. I think on some other tubs, the drain is still here, but there's about a 2 to 4 inch depth to the bottom of the tub. So when it comes to that, not a lot of the water gets out, and you have to really flip the tub over and it becomes a big hassle. So that's good from a maintenance perspective. You have your outlet here and then your inlet here, and you plug those in, pumps cold water in, dirty water comes back out, goes into the filtration, cools it, and goes back in. Once you come to the front tub, it's flat and nothing else here, super clean, simple. I love this pod. It's like very simple and clean, and it looks nice. I love this color. I think the one I tested before was all white, and that's just gonna get dirtier quicker, whereas this is kind of like this off-white grayish color, and it's going to maintain its look for a little bit longer. It's not white where you're going to see all the spots. It's kind of that middle ground where it can be discreet, where it gets a little dirty and you won't notice. Then on the inside, you can see the inlet. It's got a pre-filter, which means large objects like hair and other kinds of residue will get stuck there. So you just need to make sure that, I know on the other ones, I'll see a lot of hair here when I have people come in and out. So you just clean that. You can unscrew these to clean it out. And then the outlet, which I can actually change the direction of by moving where I want the water to flow out of it. And because this tub, I did have to actually fit through my door. I was scared it wouldn't fit in terms of how wide it is. It'll fit through standard doors. My outdoor door is a bit smaller, but luckily I was able to remove and unscrew these so that I could slide it barely through my door. It barely just fit when I took those off. But these do protrude and they do pop out of the edge. So if you are trying to get into some small spaces, you might struggle. But as long as you unscrew those, most likely you'll be able to get it in. A big thing with the lid is when I had the inflatable version of the Plunge, the lid wasn't fully sealed, so I had a lot of debris, leaves, bugs get in. And this is fully sealed. Like once it's on, wind and stuff is not gonna rock it off, and there is slightly of there's a slightly indentation right here, so most likely nothing's gonna get in. I'll let this hang out outside with water, and we'll see over a long period of time in a future video if debris can get in at all. So this is the Ice Barrel 500 next to the Plunge Pod. In terms of height, there's definitely maybe an 8-inch height difference. The Ice Barrel 500 has steps built into it. It also has the hard lid, which I really like, that protects it from debris going in. So it's nice to see that both of them have that. The Ice Barrel 500 also has water hookups, which are on this side. Sadly, Ice Barrel has not sent me their chiller, so I can't test that for you. I haven't found the right adapters to try other water chillers with this, so this kind of just sits there. We don't use it for that specific reason. Ice Barrel, if you want to send me the stuff, I'll make more videos about this. But some people do like this because of the steps. It's pretty big, and it has a lot more space. Even just from like a depth perspective, you can see if I put these guys side by side, the Ice Barrel is gonna be wider. It's more of a square shape, whereas this one just feels a little more round and smooth. If we put them side by side to each other, you can see how much more space the Ice Barrel 500 takes up, and it's just much higher. You can fit larger people in this and elevated, versus the seat in here is just a bit more subtle and lower. Okay, so you learned about the Ice Barrel 500 differences, which will just slide that bad boy back in. But what about this compared to the other Plunge products, like the pop-up, which is like $100. the Evolve Air, which is an inflatable, and doesn't matter how wide your door is, you can stuff that anywhere. Let's put those side by side. Now, if we talk about the Plunge Pod versus all the other plunges, I'm gonna go with the cheapest chiller option available. They go up in price if you upgrade. The all-in, the most expensive, is $9,000 almost. The Plunge Original is almost $6,000, so $3,000 cheaper. The Plunge Pod, this model with their standard chiller, is almost $5,000. And then the Plunge Air, the inflatable one, is $3,500 with the standard chiller. And then the pop-up, which is the base model, is $2,500 with the standard chiller. So you're wondering, how much are the chillers? Which is kind of crazy. The standard chiller is $2,500, which is the same price as the pop-up with the standard chiller. So you just get that pop-up for free and the chiller. And then the Evolve Pro chiller, which is the more expensive model. It just has more features, more horsepower, and more moving parts, which I don't think is a good thing. It might be better just to get the basic model. That's $4,400. You're just getting into cold plunging. Great place to start is the Plunge Pop-Up. This thing is under $100. You can fill it up with water and ice. You don't have to do anything. And then if you're like, hey, actually, I'm using it pretty consistently, I'm spending way too much money on ice, it's best to get a water chiller. Boom, it has water chiller hookups right here. It's got a drain right here. You can do that, and now you can have water that's always chilled with their cheapest pop-up. Okay, you're using it consistently, it's too small. Maybe you just moved out of an apartment that has a bigger space. I need something bigger. Wait a second, I'm willing to spend a little more money. This is the Evolve Air, which is their inflatable version, and now it's much bigger. You can relax because it's got the slanted back over there. You can fit up to 2 people in this, which I've done. And then maybe I need to move or it's cold outside and I want to change it up in the winter. I can deflate this and put this in storage and not use it. Maybe I'm traveling for a long period. Oh, but here, it has the same chiller hookups. So now, I bought the chiller with the pop-up. I'm done with the pop-up. Let's upgrade to the Evolve Air. Actually, I'm moving to a place that's outdoor. It's gonna have a lot of rain, snowfall, and there's no cover. I need something sturdier, something stronger. Plunge Pod, same water chiller hookups. Would you look at that? Maybe you're like, okay, it's nice. I've got the upright, but I want the lay down. I'm moving to an even bigger place. I want something fancier, more ceramic looking. You can go for the Plunge Original. Same water chiller hookups. You just need to get the tubing, which will be slightly different for all of them. But that expensive water chiller is here. The Pro chiller, which is the more expensive model, and the standard chiller will work with all 3 of these and their pricier models. So now, just depending on size, you can look at them right here. The Evolve Air is going to be bigger in terms of the length, but it's shorter in terms of height. The Plunge Pop-Up is almost as high as the Pod, but it's definitely much smaller in terms of the space that it takes up. So it just depends on the environment and where you are. Honestly, the most important thing is build the habit first. That's why I highly recommend starting with one of these. If you're not using it consistently, you saved money. If you start to use it consistently, then pick something. This is great for a balcony or a space where you feel like you might move often. And then this one's great for outdoor spaces where there might be rain, snow, and a lot of debris coming down, and there's no overhead protection. Okay. Well, we talked about all the different models, but what about the chillers, Shervin? You mentioned there's 2 different kinds. Which one of those do I buy? Well, let's take a look. Now, when it comes to the chillers, you have the Evolve Pro chiller, which is more expensive. They've really custom built this. It's got Wi-Fi buttons, the whole thermometer right here, and it has a bigger filtration system, so you have to replace the filter less often, which I think is really nice. These filters are freaking massive. Yep, and they get dirty, we gotta replace that one. But this one does have more moving parts. I've had more issues with this one recently, and that's where I've been kind of liking the standard chiller, which is more simple, less moving parts. It's made for outdoor only. Bigger vents, filters smaller, so you gotta replace it more often. The tubing on both of these is pretty much the same. It's the same threading and tubing, all of them. It just depends on the length and the style that you get for the tub that you're purchasing. This one just has, the buttons aren't as like easy to use. This feels like an iPhone, this feels like an Android. So from a software hardware perspective, they're different. Both can connect to Wi-Fi and you can remotely control them from the Plunge app, so you can turn them up, down, and both also provide a heater function, so you can turn on a heater function, which I don't think most people are using. When it comes to heating water, you're gonna have more issues with bacteria and cleanliness, so just use these as cold plunges, honestly. When it comes to power and electrical requirements of these plunges, they all use the standard plugs that you'd see in most of your home. They all have GFCI outlets, so if anything gets wet, it will break the circuit and it'll turn off, so you don't get, electrocuted. And you wanna make sure that you have a 15 amp outlet. I try to plug 2 of these in the same outlet, and that kind of cuts the circuit off. There's just too much of a power draw. So think of this as like a refrigerator. You don't want too many other devices sucking power out. So that's something to keep in mind. And I've heard people say that it costs them like, $20 to $50 a month of electricity cost extra to run these things. Just think of it as another fridge in your home. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, when it comes to cleaning and maintenance, they do have a maintenance box that you can purchase that will give you refillable filters for the standard. This is their small one, as well as different kinds of sanitation tools that you want to put in the water to maintain the cleanliness of the water. You have Spa Up, which maintains pH levels for you. You have sanitizer that you can put in the water, and then you also have oxidizer. So you want to treat this like a pool. You want to make sure the water stays clean if you're going in it. You want to have clean water, whoever's using it. The more people that use it, the more different people, and the less that people shower before using it, the dirtier it can get. It's all going to be subjective to how you use it and how clean you are when you get in. There's also pH test strips in here. So make sure that if you do this, keep it clean. And then the other piece is actually washing out the tub and rinsing out and changing the water. I like to do it every month, or whenever I have a party here, I'll definitely rinse out the tub and change the water. And when you do that, one thing that you really want to make sure of, and that's valuable, is that you can tip the tub to the side to easily clean it. The drain is on near the floor, which makes it helpful. But what's even better is when I can just lean this to the side, grab the hose, and just go scrub it down and make sure all the water just drains out. That makes it as easy as possible to actually drain the entire thing and keep it clean. So having that makes it much easier. I know there are some plunges where they have like lips on the top or certain things where the water doesn't drain out, but this one, easy to clean, easy to drain. Now, when it comes to pricing, how much does this cost? Well, the tub itself is $19.90, and it goes up from there. $5,000 for the Plunge Pod with the Cold Standard, $5,500 with the Cold Standard and heater. The Plunge Pod with the Cold Pro is $6,500, and the heater goes all the way up to $7,000. So this can range from $2,000 to $7,000 depending on the variation of the chillers that you want to get. Comes with a 1-year warranty. There is also a plan where you can get 0 down, 0% financing on it for 24 months if you're into that type of stuff. And if you are watching this in November, it's 15% off all November, all Plunge products. So click the link in the description. That helps support the channel, and use discount code Shervin to potentially get a bigger discount. And the shipping time, if it says it's in stock, it will take about 8 business days, and there is free delivery, which is really nice. Since you enjoyed this video, make sure to go watch my review of the Plunge Sauna and the new Sauna Mini, which I'll have linked right here.